All right, we are in New York City. We're off Broadway, baby, and we're going to be talking to the CEO of American Theater Wing, Heather Hitchens. They are the company that founded the Tony Awards, and we're going to be talking to Heather about all things theater and the industry. Let's go talk to Heather. All right, so we're with the CEO of American Theater Wing, Heather Hitchens. Heather, thank you for being here.
Great to be here.
Awesome. Well, if you could, tell us what American Theater Wing is. What do you all do? Give us an overview of the organization.
Well, the American Theater Wing people, I think, know best because we founded and we co-produced the Tony Awards. But we were actually founded over 100 years ago by suffragists. We were a war relief effort to begin with. And then as years went by, we became focused on arts education, theater education. And so, in a nutshell, I would describe what we do is connect talent with opportunity.
If you could give me an overview of your role with the organization, what do you do here day to day?
Well, I'm responsible for the whole enchilada, so to speak. So, all the finances, raising money because we're a 501c3 charitable organization, setting the vision, creating programs, dealing with a board of directors and donors and everything from soup to nuts, I oversee. And luckily, I have a great staff that helps me implement all those things.
There we go. How did you get involved in this? Have you always been interested in theater? Tell us a little bit about your background leading up to becoming CEO.
Well, I'm going to age myself a little bit because I was one of those kids that had art, music, and the school play as a part of my education from the beginning. It wasn't separate, it wasn't an elective, everybody did it. I had all of that from the beginning, but I was drawn to music initially and started playing the drums when I was 6 years old. And then went to music school and got my degree in percussion, and then discovered there are lots of ways to make a living in the performing arts, and I always had a love for theater. So, 13 years ago when it was offered to me to become the president of the American Theater Wing, I thought this is great because actually theater is where it all comes together. You've got music, you've got art, you've got choreography, it's everything at once. It's just the honor of a lifetime to run the American Theater Wing. So this is the Civilian Hotel's Blue Room. The whole hotel was designed by the architect and Tony Award winning scenic designer, David Rockwell. And of course, we've got Hamilton here.
An all-timer.
Yes.
Does it ever annoy you as the CEO of the American Theater Wing, you know a lot about theater compared to the average person? I don't know as much. And so I'm like, have you seen Lion King or Hamilton? And they only name like the top ones. Does that ever frustrate you because there's so many other great productions?
Not at all, because I think the great joy is introducing people. I mean, that's what the American Theater Wing does with a lot of its work, is to introduce people to theater. And the truth be told, I'm still learning. I've spent my lifetime in the performing arts and theater, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning about how things work. I'm still learning things from shows. So I think, this is a show about CEOs. One of the life lessons should be a lifelong learner.
Yeah, don't stop learning. Because you have to be open-minded or else you'll be screwed in a tough situation. You gotta be nimble.
I love what I do, so to get somebody to discover the Lion King even is exciting to me. It's like, oh, now you're gonna get the bug.
What advice would you give to someone if they're becoming a CEO of any organization? What advice would you give to them as they're becoming CEO?
Make decisions. Know that they're not all going to be good decisions. Understand why you made them all. If you make a mistake, fix it right away. And that was advice given to me by Fred Hitchens, my father, when I had my first CEO job at 24. And I called him because I was panicking, thinking I had bitten off more than I can chew, and he literally said to me, "Are you panicking? Are you paralyzed?" And I said, "Totally." And he said, "Well, get off the pot and make some decisions. And you're gonna make good decisions and you're gonna make bad decisions. You better be able to explain them all, but whatever you do, make decisions, and if you make mistakes, fix them right away." And I think that's the truth, is that sometimes people let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and they aren't able to move forward, and they get, paralysis by analysis. And I think that's, the important thing is to make decisions. People are looking to you to make decisions.
Who's a mentor in your life?
My mentor just passed away. Her name was Fran Richard, and she started life as a city planner. She was a cellist, but spent the vast majority of her career, 28 years, as the head of concert music for ASCAP. And she innately understood the pressures that were on a CEO. And she would call me, 7:30 from her office up to my office and say, "Hey kid, you still at the office?" "Yes, Fran, meet me downstairs." Downstairs was O'Neill's, which was an Irish pub that no longer exists, across from Lincoln Center, during which, and this was back in the day where you could smoke in the restaurant, so she would smoke a pack of cigarettes, drink 3 vodkas.
Oh, she was going. Yeah,
she was going, but she would give me the most solid and sound advice. She would tell me when I was wrong in no uncertain terms. She would support the heck out of you, and up until very recently, until I couldn't call her anymore, she was somebody that I would call for advice to get the straight talk. And she just never, and she was this way with every composer that she ever mentored. The outpouring after her death was amazing, of people saying, this is my New York City mother.
So I'm seeing a lot of memorabilia, a lot of great photos, a lot of great props. Like, the history of theater doesn't just go back 100 years, it goes back like thousands of years. Can you talk about like the historical impact of theater in our culture?
Well, theater is really the first, oldest art form, if you go back to Shakespeare or the Romans. And that's why actually we don't need to be afraid of technology. It's been around and evolving forever. And that strong history, I think as we struggle as CEOs, we're like, are we innovating? Are we, what's the place of history? And it's like, history is so important because it's the guiding point. And then you evolve, but you evolve and you evolve. But you always have that history as the anchor, and theater has that history. And that's why it's not going away, and that's why we don't have to be afraid of anything digital. Digital is a great tool that can help bring more people to the theater. But you can only have that experience of live theater. We're gonna walk through the theater district, and there are theater districts all across the country, and there's like a buzz and a hum. There's nothing like Times Square where we're gonna be, but every city, Chicago, everywhere, across the country, there's a theater district, and there's always a hum. And you're sitting at the theater with all these strangers who've all come from different places, different walks of life, and you're sitting down together in a communal way, taking the same journey. And there is nothing else that's like that.
I know that you all provide certain grants and scholarships to students. For someone who doesn't necessarily know about the arts, know about theater, or care about it, why should they care about it? Why would you invest money into this, I guess is my question.
It's a good question, and it's important, and I love having the opportunity to answer it, because if you look at data, there's nothing that the arts touches that it doesn't make better. Education, it makes it better. Graduation rates, test scores, staying in school, all of those things. The economy, the arts makes it better. I mean, $14.7 billion Broadway contributes to the economy. The arts in general contribute over $900 billion to the economy. That is more than education, that is more than transportation. So you could not give a what about the arts, but if you care about the economy, you should care about the arts. Having gone through COVID, I've been a part of advocacy efforts for the arts for a long time. And one of the things that you always heard is, what is it going to be like if you have a day without art? Well, we had years without art, and we found out what happened to our restaurants, to our parking garages, and to the economy. So, I mean, that's one reason right there. The second reason is that I hear all the time from employers, other CEOs in the corporate world, that there's a generation of people coming up that did not get the arts, and they're having trouble problem solving. And that's what the arts teach you, because when you're doing a live show and something happens, what do you have to do? You have to problem solve, because the audience isn't going away and you have to deliver that show. So just teaching creativity, teaching team building skills, these are the things that we need, and I think our problems as a society are getting more complicated. And so to not have the arts, to help us to have the arts as a tool for everyone, whether they're going to be on stage or behind the scenes, or they're going to be a lawyer, or they're going to be, a finance person. I think having creativity as a core skill is really important.
What would you say to someone who's either studying theater or the arts? And I know I think it's a misconception, but you've touched on this a little bit, how there's a lot of different roles within this entire industry. I think some people think it's only acting or directing or playwright or whatever. But what would you say to someone who is struggling either to enter into the industry, or they might be fearful that there's not opportunity in the industry and they're going to go somewhere else, like into a different career? What would you tell them?
There are so many ways to have a great career in the arts. You can be on stage, you can be behind the scenes. I never imagined that I was going to be a CEO. I was a drummer, I wasn't going to be a CEO. But, it's been a great, great opportunity for me, because one of the things I realized is that we need people that have the soul of an artist as CEOs, because you're dealing with artists. And I think, I'm able to bring my full creative artist self to the job, as well as my business acumen and my practicality. And so there's so many ways in which you can do that. You can be a stage manager, you can be a house manager, you can be a costume designer if you like to sew, if you like to draw. You can be a publicist, and you can help promote the shows and get audiences to the shows. You can be a director if you like to tell people what to do.
Right.
There's so many different jobs that you can do, and so there's a place for everyone in the performing arts. And I think that's because we're fighting just to keep arts education in the schools. We don't educate people so much about all the different jobs. You can be a props master, where you have to go find the props that are on stage. You get to go to antique stores all day.
What's the ultimate vision or goal for American Theater Wing?
The ultimate vision is that we have, as I said, a country where every kid gets access to an arts education, a theater education, and that we're bringing up people into the industry, on stage, behind the scenes, and people that have had arts educations that become lawyers that sit on our boards, or finance people that balance our budgets. And I think it's really that the arts are a central part of who we are, and there's an acknowledgement of that. The theater is part of the fabric of our communities, the economic fabric, the cultural fabric, the psychological fabric. It's what holds us together, literally.
I love that. That was good. Are there shows going on all day, every day? What's
there is
showtime
normally always an evening performance, unless there's some kind of variation. And there are matinees Wednesdays, Saturday, and Sunday standard, but now we're seeing Thursday matinees. And shows are starting to experiment with curtain time. So it used to be 8 o'clock was for the evening performance was sacrosanct, and now you're seeing shows with earlier curtain times, because appealing to the consumer who wants to get home earlier.
Yeah, nice. This is so New York.
It is. I mean, it's just the billboards. Like the first time, do you remember the first time you walked through Times Square?
I do. It's a sight. It's definitely a sight to see.
It's like it's
a lot.
It's visual. It's just a whole experience. I mean, the billboards, the lights, all the theaters, being surrounded by all the theaters, all the creativity. And then there's just the New York City buzz, right, that's going on.
So before we sign off, I got one final question. I want you to get on your soapbox for me. Why should people across the country go experience their community theater or the theater within their region? Why should they go?
Because there's great work being done. There's great stories being told that they can connect to, that are happening in their own community. And sometimes, a lot of times, those stories come to Broadway, but then they will be the first folks that saw it. Or if it's a new show. If it's not a new show, it's a play that you get to see by your neighbors, the people in your community, the people that are contributing to making your place a place. If we didn't have arts and theaters and opera houses and art museums, what would make a place a place? And so the community that you live in and love, that art scene there, that theater scene, is making your place a place to live, work, and raise a family.
I love it. Well, Heather, I've had so much fun, and this is a different episode for us, so it was really exciting to talk to you, and I appreciate you giving us the time.
Well, I really appreciate it too. Thank you for letting me talk about the American Theater Wing, which I, feel so much love for, even though it's my job.
Yeah, that's okay. That's perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Let's go see you play.
Yeah, let's go.
Let me tell you a little thing about show business. I like to whisper to the audio guys every now and then, like. Yeah, we love it. I've never heard that joke. All right. Part 2. Thank God this isn't a live performance.
Yes.
Heather, Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
This is a good blooper reel.
This is
alright.
good.
Great. Let's go talk to Heather. One take. To the groove. To the bride. To the bride. I can do it still. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry, I was in character.
We're still